Welcome back, everyone, to Neuroalchemy, where science meets soul and where healing becomes multidimensional, intuitive, and profoundly possible. I'm Dr. Sarah Young, and together we explore the intersections of neuroscience, embodiment, energy, psychology, and the inner landscapes that shape who we are and who we can become. Here on Neuroalchemy, we define things as if you're hearing them for the very first time, because clarity creates safety, and safety opens the doorway for more healing possibilities. Today, I'm joined by Yulia. Yulia is a flexibility and mobility coach with over 14 years of hands-on experience in movement, posture correction, and functional training. She works primarily with busy, high-performing people who sit a lot, travel often, and feel tired, stiff, burned out, or disconnected from their bodies. Her approach blends practical movement with nervous system awareness, posture, energy regulation, and real-world sustainability. Conversations with Yulia go beyond exercises and into how movement influences focus, stress, vitality, and overall performance. Yulia, thank you so much for being here with us today. Before we begin, I always like to start with a simple grounding question. How are you arriving today, either physically, emotionally, or energetically?
That's an interesting question. Well, I think physically and emotionally, I would say.
It just means how are you today? How are you as it came into the space? What were you doing right before you jumped on? How's your mood? How's your body feeling? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I was running for the podcast. I feel like I was just like so stressing out about being late, and yeah, now I'm just like grounding basically. But yeah, I was so excited to speak today, and I'm glad we made it. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Before we dive into your story and your work, I always like to begin by defining the terms we'll be exploring together. So, if someone is hearing these concepts for the very first time, how might you define flexibility in a practical, real life sense?
Well, I would say like flexibility is a result of order inside the body. Like if body is imbalanced, you will feel and experience different limitations in like different parts of your body. And flexibility in mind gives you flexibility in body, and like everything is interconnected. So that's how I like to always start a conversation about that.
How would you define mobility, and how is it different from maybe flexibility?
Well, I would say like stretching, like and mobility. Mobility, it's like there's two different concepts. Like stretching, like if you're very flexible and just like bendy, you can hold the poses for Instagram, for example. You can be like very bendy and it looks impressive. But in reality, in real life, your flexibility is not approachable. So you can't really use your legs in that range of motion. You can't really you can't really do anything with that. You can just like reach it in a passive range of motion, and it's not functional. Mobility, it's the strength at the at the end of the range of motion, which gives you a lot of functionality. Let's say if we would talk about dancers or martial art fighters, when they kick their legs, like the flex, like their mobility, it's like the range, like the end of the range of the motion. And the mobility defines like how high they can kick and how high they can use their legs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How do you define posture, especially in the context of modern life, sitting, travel, and screen use?
Well, it's a complicated question. Yeah, like well, posture, when people like see someone is slouching forward, and they always, you could always hear that like, okay, open your chest, like hold your back, all these things. And actually posture controlled by the nerve system, and you can't really control your posture consciously all the time. And like you probably would notice like when you go through stressful periods of your life, when you would notice in between the like busy day, your shoulders would go up like as a stress response, and you would notice it. You would tell yourself like, okay, now I'm like controlling everything. You would relax the shoulders, taking a deep breath, and then a few minutes later it comes back, because you come back to your like regular state of mindset at that particular part of the day. And so when we talk about posture, I always like to start with like nerve system regulation and like literally relearning the new comfortable and healthy movement pattern for people so that they can feel healthy and feel like open and like don't think about posture as something that they have to hold. So the healthy posture, like open body, like becomes really natural state of the being. If that makes sense.
And how would you explain the relationship between movement and the nervous system?
So, movement and the nervous system. So, basically, on a day to day life, we learn different movement patterns, and usually we repeat those movement patterns pretty much all the time. So, we sit, we walk, we run at the very best, and which is the majority of the people. So, we always following the similar movement patterns, like more or less. And therefore, over the years our body learned how to respond to certain situations because like the more we live in similar experiences, the more we'll respond with similar movement, and the body learn and remembers those particular patterns, and those patterns are not necessarily always healthy and benefiting you. So and relearning those patterns, meaning adapting new emotions, new feelings, and new proprioception, your ability to feel the body in the space in general. And so that literally opens up like all new spectrum of emotions, of feelings, and yeah, and realizations.
And finally, how does burnout show up in the body from your perspective?
Burnout. Well, basically, I always like to say that body is like a sponge that is absorb all the stress, all the emotions, all the traumas and experiences. And there's always a moment in your life when you experience something stressful and you choosing the trade between like moving on in a busy life, like mentally, and like without processing those emotions and just like moving forward, and you think that okay, I'm strong and I'm like I don't have to feel those feelings, I don't have to be worried about it, you just kind of forgetting it, but your body remembers those and the stress lives in the body. And there's how like psychosomatic exists, right? Like one of the big part of it. And so yeah, like usually the stress lives in the like in the jaw, in the tight shoulders, in the lower back pain, or like different injuries that we getting yeah, from different movement patterns again. Yeah, burnout is the quintessence of all those big things, I would say, that is showing up in like different triggers, different tightness, and yeah, all those things.
Now that we've created a shared language, I would love to hear your story. How did you first find your way into movement, flexibility, and posture work?
Okay. So yeah, I came from bodybuilding, and like 8 years ago, I was already 4 years deep into bodybuilding. I've been taught that weights is like the way of living. It's like the healthiest thing you could possibly do. And I was like really obsessed with that because I was thinking like, yeah, this is the way, this is like the healthiest thing. And the more I was actually training those, like training with weights and progressing, the more I was noticing that like my body is really limited and really, yeah, like I'm losing the range of motion. I don't really feel comfortable and something feels really off. And so at some point, I actually reached a point between like when my muscles and my ligaments was really imbalanced. So meaning that my muscles was way stronger than my ligaments because I never really specifically trained any other connective tissues rather than muscles and like, gaining like new ranges, like adding more weight. And so I got injured multiple times and I started to question, okay, like I was 21 at this point and I was like, for 21, it's a lot of injuries already. And I tried yoga. It didn't really help me and it didn't really bring me as much flexibility because I wanted to have like a lot of freedom in my life and freedom in my body. And so slowly I started to explore somatic work and just like kinesiology, animal flow, and so many different protocols and modalities, which was really beautiful. And it really helped me to not only fix my injuries, but also open up a whole new world of like stored memories and like, yeah, just like gain new awareness of the body, like reading my body, like improving connections with myself and with the world at the same time.
So it sounds like you, through this process, you changed the way you related to your own body. And
Yes.
because of that, you're able to work with others. You work with a lot of busy and high functioning people. Why do you think stiffness, pain, and low energy have become so common in modern bodies?
Well, because again, because we like moving in the same patterns, we're not prioritizing our bodies. We're prioritizing like a high functions in the mind, and like the less our body is moving, the more our mind is moving. I always like to say that like you want to have a quiet mind and active body, and if your body is quiet, your mind will be very active, and you want to like balance those things. So stiffness comes because of the stress, because we're responding to a lot of stressful situations, and we're not really working with the emotions. We're learning how to protect ourselves again, like it shows in the body, kind of like we're closing the chest, we're like slouching forward, and like we're learning those patterns. And it's not always even like comes from just sitting, but it comes from the perspective on the world. Like we don't really trust people when we run businesses, or we like there's like a corporate world, and like it's a lot of competition, a lot of stress. So and like body literally shows this aggression, this survival mode. And yeah, I think that's first part that comes like that causing the stiffness and bad posture.
What do most people misunderstand about why their bodies feel the way they do?
Well, I would say that, yeah, they're trying to fight with the body rather than listen to it. They're trying to ask from it a lot more and like ignore the signals. And they just, even I hear that a lot from my students who go and they're just like, oh, I wish I would be this way. I wish it would be that way. I used to do a lot better. And they just like always blaming themselves rather than just understanding when the stiffness coming from. And like flexibility, as I was saying, like flexibility is a result of order inside the body. So meaning that the body balance comes from like tight areas of the body, protecting the dormant muscles that is not working. And so meaning that there's a big imbalance. You're not engaging one part of the body, and like the other areas are overworking. And they trying to release when it comes to stretching. They're trying to like stretch and like release and fight with the tight areas without really activating the proper muscles and like find this natural balance, so body doesn't have to protect you, and without regulating the nerve system. And I see like this is one of the biggest misconception in modern.
Sounds like when people fight and resist and force, we get a lot of rigidity and a lot of contraction. But when people allow themselves to come in cooperation with their body, with movement, it gives them an opportunity for expansion. And expansion can mean many things, not just the body, but also in the mind and in the emotions as well. You talk about posture and movement influencing energy, focus, and stress. How does the nervous system show up in the way people move or hold themselves? And even more so, what are some signs that somebody's body is asking for regulation rather than more effort and rigidity?
The science. For example, one of the thing I would say, when you're waking up and you feel like your body is stiff, it means that you're not fully relaxing and you're not fully releasing your body before you go to bed, and you like little holding those movement patterns, or like holding this tightness in the body without releasing it before you go to sleep. And that's like actually getting even worse as you're resting. That's why you're waking up and you feel like even like still tired and even more tight. That's where I would start from. Actually, I would start with like a good proper 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes before bed routine, to like stretch and prepare yourself for the sleep, to let go of all the stress of the day, and so that you can properly relax. And also like one of the thing that worsen it is like this soft bed. I always suggest to have like the harder pillows, harder like small pillows, like harder mattresses. Like don't let it like very like be very soft, and because it doesn't really help you to relax the body. That would be the first sign. Second, of course, like the lower back pain and all this like tightness, it means that most likely you're not engaging the deep core muscles and you're not engaging the posterior muscles, which is like right next to your spine, and it helps you to support and help like hold your body upright. So if you have like a lower body issues, like according to psychosomatic, it's like I don't really like to give like broad terms in terms of like where this pain comes from, because like it's very, but yeah, like most common thing is like the scarcity mindset for the future, or like all this anxiety that we're living in. But from the physiological perspective, if you have a lower back pain, it means that you, yes, not engaging the deep core muscles, like the hip or pelvic floor are imbalanced, and thoracic spine are locked, as well as the diaphragm is not moving properly. So you like, it's a shallow breath. So those things would be like the first signs.
I know our listeners always appreciate things they can use right away. And on Neuroalchemy, we like to extend to you a request for you to give us maybe a simple practice, something bite-sized that people can try today and over the next 7 days to improve some of the things you're talking about, whether it's how the body feels, their posture, their alignment, their flexibility. What would you recommend for the weekly challenge?
Okay, yeah, I would recommend to start from the small tight spots in your body, because big muscle groups, big body areas, they're not always getting tight immediately. So first, usually it's the small tight spots such as your jaw, your eyes, your forehead, the back of the neck, your fingers, or your feet, for example. And I always suggest like on a day-to-day basis, just spend like a few minutes massaging those areas. So like do the like gymnastics for your eyes when you like sit and work with your computer, and expand the range of your gaze by drawing the rainbow with your gaze, and feeling how like feeling the stretch in your eyes, for example, because usually on a day-to-day basis we rather like we either looking forward or down, meaning that we're not really using the range of motion like on the top corners, and therefore our ocular nerve, which is connects through the whole fascial line, like superficial fascial line, and it all tightens and like pulls down all the like other areas. So that would be the simplest practice. Like when you work at the office, put the alarm and do like a few minutes of the eye stretches when you're drawing the rainbow with your gaze, and you're really pushing the gaze to the top right corner and to the top left corner, especially. That would be the first one. Second is massaging the forehead, like really strongly, pushing the knuckles into the forehead and like bypassing the surface level connective tissues into the circles. And you will notice that there's a lot of tension in your forehead. And the interesting thing is that the forehead actually connects through the superficial back line, which is the connection kind of like that goes from your eyes all the way down through the back, lower back, the hamstrings, and your feet. And it tightens everything. Yes, and if you will massage the forehead, it would instantly improve your forward fold, for example, as well as the back of the neck to massage this area as well. I have actually tutorials on my page if they want to practice and see how it looks like, as well as stretching your fingers. So the simplest example would be like to spread your fingers really wide, push your hands forward and to the side, and you will feel how strong, like how much tension you feel like you have in your fingers by just simply like extending your arm and like stretching it that way. So that would be simplest options at the office, or like wherever you go, like wherever you're staying in the traffic, and it would be like already benefiting your flexibility. And one extra thing, I always suggest people to get a lacrosse ball. It's like number one essential thing for flexibility and massaging your feet. I always suggest to place this lacrosse ball under the sink in your bathroom, because life gets busy and we can't really like spend another extra 10 minutes to massage the feet, even though it's very beneficial. So that's why I'm saying like, yeah, place the lacrosse ball under the sink, and every morning as you wash your face and getting ready for work, just roll this lacrosse ball with your feet, and you will already notice how much it's benefiting your balance, how much better connection with your feet, like feet and the floor you have, and how the movement patterns, how walking patterns are already changing. So those would be like the small useful steps to start your flexibility journey, basically.
So, for our listeners out there, I love that she gave us so many things to choose from. And just as a review, some of those things that you can choose from for your practice for this week are to massage the sore places on your body, to do some eye exercises, doing the rainbow in your range of motion with your eyes. You could do the fingers outstretched to the front and to the sides each day. And lastly, your fourth choice would be to get a lacrosse ball, keep it underneath your sink, and to massage the bottoms of your feet while you're getting ready and doing other things for the day. Yulia, are there common things people do that you found actually don't work or that make things worse?
Well, things that is not working, I wouldn't say it's not working completely, but it's not giving us like many results. For example, like when people stretch passively all the time, and like as far as like as long as it's good for regulation, like the nerve system regulation, it's good to just calm down and release like after the work, for example. However, if you want to get flexible and if you want to improve your mobility, which is like your active range of motion, passive flexibility not gonna help you, and it's not gonna help you to progress as fast as dynamic flexibility or PNF stretching, for example. What is PNF stretching is when we mixing the contracting the muscles and releasing them. So we go, let's say, like in an active lunge position, and we hold it for a few seconds. Like usually it's like 10 seconds of like very active, very hard, strong hold. And then we go to the passive relaxation for another 10 to 15 seconds. And we repeating it for 3 to 4 times. So PNS stretch and active dynamic flexibility practices would be way better than passive flexibility. And what would be damaging? I think, yeah, just like fighting with your body and like comparing yourself to somebody else. Like when people go to the yoga classes and they see somebody who's practicing for years, like from 8 to 10 years, and they comparing themselves and they feeling really bad. And I'm like, this is absolutely not necessary. You know, you're not comparing your bank account with the Elon Musk bank account because Elon Musk work all the time, you know, and you don't. And like, you know, the same thing about flexibility and like any physical activities that you might have, like, and try. Don't compare and follow your journey, listen to your body.
I love that. I like to say that we're only in competition with ourselves.
Exactly.
So if you can compare yourself today to who you were yesterday, and you can do something really small that makes this new version a little bit better, then you're doing well. But you're never going to do well to look around at everyone else and evaluate yourself from those reference points. You've had experiences across bodybuilding, Pilates, yoga, entrepreneurship, and extensive travel. How have these experiences shaped how you see the body and healing now? What does it look like to build strength and mobility in a way that supports life rather than dominating it?
I would say that bodybuilding culture, as well as CrossFit, high intensity and everything, as well as the entrepreneurship, like the toxic entrepreneurship culture, it's all about go culture, you know, like performing at your 150% and yeah, like no rest days and like all these things, like you're always taking something from your body, from your resources until one day it's just doesn't work anymore and you're getting huge burnout, you're getting injured, like, you know, and you hate everything. So, and what I like about Pilates is that it's very tough, like it's very tough workout, but it teaches you how to move through pain with elegance, grace, and like how shape the body from the small, beautiful moves that is full of control, like precise focus, you know. Yeah, you're moving like without pushing yourself. You're still pushing, it's uncomfortable, but it's not something that is going crazy, and you're most likely never going to injure yourself in Pilates. So this is like a two main differences that I really like in Pilates and that I don't really like in bodybuilding, as well as entrepreneurship. You know, like the healthy growth comes from balanced and organized schedule, you know, we all have big goals, and especially like, 2026, we all have like lists of resolutions and things. Just like, split it on small steps, like your entrepreneurship journey, your body goals, and everything. And just like, don't try to get everything by tomorrow. Like, it's okay to try, it's okay to get rest, it's okay to change directions. And yeah, just listen to yourself and like surrender to the journey.
As we begin to close, I'd love to ask one more question. What's something that you wish more people understood about their bodies, especially when they feel tired, stiff, or disconnected? And what's something that you would love for our listeners to take away from this conversation today?
Yeah, I would love them to remember actually that movement is a big healing tool. And usually, quite often, I hear from my clients when they finish the working day, they just like, oh, Yulia, I don't have energy to work out. And I'm like, come on, but you remember that every time we work out, it actually gives you energy. You don't need to have extra energy resources to move. You can start slow and you will feel that the energy flow is just actually like comes to you. And yeah, that's the one misconception also that is quite common when you think like, oh, I don't have extra energy for that. You don't need energy. Movement and like practices gives you energy, and that's like one of the biggest tool that you can use on a day-to-day basis, especially when you're stressed and tired. Just start like gently and like find some slow flow, like with gentle, beautiful, dynamic movements, and you will feel a lot better. Or like even get a massage roll, the foam roller, and start like rolling back, start rolling the hips, rolling your feet with a lacrosse ball, or even with the broomstick when you're placing it on the floor. Everybody can do that, and you will feel a lot better and a lot more energized.
Movement is medicine.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
As long as we're not abandoning our body.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Neuroalchemy. If you heard something today that was helpful for you, or if you think it could support a friend or a family member, please like, subscribe, and share this episode. That simple action helps this work reach the people who need it the most. You can find all of Yulia's links and resources in the show notes today. And until next time, take gentle care of your mind, your body, and your inner world. Bye for now.